am the great monkey god of Survivor, here to let you know how men and women should behave at all times. I will let... No, it's just me. It's Toby, your faithful Survivor One World recapper. I'm here recapping episode 3. And I think this is the episode where the game started going. Thank God. It was all about, to me, things that people perceived versus things that were really happening. It was all about how perception can be so different from reality for so many people. I talk about some of that in my written blog, and I just wanted to expand on it a little bit more. First of all, the women. I owe the Salami tribe a huge apology. I didn't think you were going to do it. I really didn't. I thought it was going to keep going down, down, down. But you ladies pulled it together, and in a dramatic fashion. So bravo, you get a slow clap. Woo! Yes, women, you pulled it together. Very, very good. And it was interesting. I was so proud of the women for not going with the guys during the height of that storm and staying overnight in their tent. And I think that made the difference. And by tent, I mean 3 bamboo shoots that have holes in them. And I think that made all the difference. I think that made them know we can do that. If we can get through that night, we can get through anything. And they did it. They did a great job. And I love that they still were not crazy enough to not take the offer eventually, to at least get a little bit of warmth. So I talked to the women real quick. And the guys. Guys, you got played. You got played. You got played like every instrument in an orchestra. Because those 2 women, Christina, Crazy, and Chelsea, when they came over to warm their hands a few minutes in the fire, and you spent all that time arguing over whether they needed to let you use the canoe or not. Of course they needed to let you use the canoe. They needed to trade something for something, but you would let it go on over and over. That whole time, Chelsea was sitting by that fire, arguing. She was happy to argue and bring things up. So it was interesting that the women sort of, used kind of a different approach. The women are playing smarter and not harder. I enjoyed watching them catch fish, and I just think that, you know what? Just when I counted you out, y'all came back. Y'all came from behind. And I really enjoyed that. So, as we know, the women did not go to tribal council, the men did. I realized that CBS had these players of the week that you get to vote for, and I don't often like them, the choices. And I hate that it comes halfway through the episode, because then you think that the other people that you haven't seen out of the 3 are going to do something exciting. Your choices this week were Colton, Sab, and Troyzan. Troy. I'm calling him Troy. I'm not calling him Troyzan. And I don't know that Sab was great in the challenge, but I don't know that the others did such great things. I think that this week, for me, the player of the week that emerged was Tarzan, who I will call Tarzan, because Tarzan is that crazy old kook who lives in that crazy house around the corner, but also knows everybody's business. And he knows what's going on, and you know what? He was actually a war hero, and it turns out that when kids actually meet him, he's really nice, and he just, is misunderstood. He's like Boo Radley, or like I said in my blog, Luna Lovegood from Harry Potter. He has been just this crazy person this whole time, but he just came out of his face today and was just telling people, this is what's going on, this is what we need to do. Tribal council, he was very well spoken. It was very interesting. And then when he nagged friggin' Matt, who tried to insult him, it was great. It was great. I thought Tarzan emerged as someone to pay attention to this episode. Let's talk about Matt, who got voted out. Matt got voted out. It was too much. He was too aggressive. And what was interesting is, I would like to compare the interaction that Jay had with a circle of people right in the center of the town, having a secret meeting, with the one that Matt had. Jay came in, and I thought this was going to happen. I've actually mentioned it before. Jay came in, and if you come in, whether or not you're with this muscle-bound alliance or whatever, if you're in an alliance of 4 against 5, once you see the writing on the wall, Jay could see it. Jay could see what was really happening. Matt was in another world. Perception, reality. Jay could see it. So Jay came in a humble way and joined the group. He saw what had to happen. In the amount of time that he was there, he was part of the circle. Part of the circle so much that by the time Matt showed up, it was awkward for Jay to be there because Jay was already that much part of a group. So I think Jay's that kind of guy that could do that. Jay's that attractive guy who like people like because he's a good guy too. I think I've always thought that he interviews well, and he just seems like he is going to be good in this game. Then a few scenes later, when Troy was talking to him, I noticed Troy was talking to Colton and Jay. So he was talking like the head of the original 5 and the new guy. And the new guy's making decisions. So Jay was in there very quickly. And that says a lot to his personality and the way he approached leaving that Muscle Alliance. The Muscle Alliance, or whatever that was not an alliance. Because if you look at the papers, friggin' Banker, whatever his name is, I don't know, Jughead, he voted for Bill. So that alliance was already turned on themselves. They didn't have an alliance. That's hilarious to me. Again, perception of reality. Matt thought he was running 4. He wasn't even running 4. He was running him and Bill. Oh, that's great. That's a great team to run. So Jay, I thought, emerged as like a sneaky player. Not sneaky, but very good. You've got to go with the zigs and the zags, and I could see what he was doing. I also noticed that he's the one that gave the embers to the women, and that when he talked to the women to have the talk about the using the boat, that he was, he never really got too mad, and he was very, he was very respectful, and he was the one that initiated the boat conversation. I feel like Jay might be playing a few steps ahead, or I might be giving him far too much credit. I don't know. That's just what I was seeing. What else happened? The women, they were just good in the challenges. And so that was exciting. What was not exciting was Kat and Troy doing that stupid memory puzzle. First of all, how cool would it have been if that had been a puppet show? Oh my God, I thought that was going to be a puppet show. I was so excited. It looks like a little puppet theater, right? And then, anyway, they have 8 objects that they have to memorize. The 6 objects, I gotta say, that was pretty easy. I was doing it even just glancing at it on the screen. I could tell who was wrong and who was right. Not that I'm, some kind of Mensa student or something, but don't call me crazy, but don't call me crazy. I learned that from Christina, whatever her name is. When it came to the 8 items, they went back 7 times to memorize the order of the same 8 items. I think it was the same 8 items. I thought that was hilarious. And I thought that brought us to the biggest thing that, in terms of our perception of Survivor, and that's the editing. That show is so well edited, and last night was such great proof. In the beginning, the editors made it seem like the women were going to go over to the men's camp, but then they didn't. So then you felt even better for the women. The music, that country bumpkin music they played when Troy and Kat were trying to guess those. The order of things was hilarious. It was so perfect. And just the way they edited even their bats. I noticed that they showed the bats. The bats were cold. The bats were cold and wet. The way they edited people's reactions at Tribal Council was so interesting. And so bravo to the editors of Survivor. Always a top-notch job, and really an important part of how even we perceive the hour that we see, out of 3 days. I would like to point out a few things. Going back to perception and reality, Colton, God, just even when he's not doing much, he gets on my nerves. But the Colton-Bill fiasco is starting to build. Colton just can't stand Bill. And Colton called Bill ghetto trash. All right. So now I've got to jump in. Neither Bill nor Colton represent Maine. I, in some ways, look or act or have characteristics of both of them as a minority group. First of all, Colton, you're embarrassing gay people because you are hiding behind. You assume that the way you act is, of course, obvious. Everyone should know that's how gay people act. And Bill called you out on it. Bill called you out on it, and Bill said, well, because, before we clocked him, basically before we clocked him, he clocked us. And, when Colton told Jeff, of course I go with the girls. No, there's no of course you go with the girls. And, you saying that and just in the way that you behave, I'm sorry, that reflects badly on me in life, in society, and overall this big picture. So, and I don't like it at all. And by the same token, not every person of color who you don't like is ghetto trash. There is actually very little that's ghetto about Bill. Bill is more of a surfer like jock dude. He's annoying in so many other ways, as you are annoying in so many other ways, Colton. And for you to immediately go to the ghetto trash insult as the thing to go, really, really have, if we as gay people not had enough people call us names and jump to conclusions already, and you're not helping that situation. Colton, I can't. I'm sorry. I hate to go so negative at this, but it's you are just awful. Bill, how were you able to do all them drugs right in the middle of that tribal council? Because that speech that Bill made was the craziest thing I've ever heard. He was all over the place, and not a minute before he had been totally calm and normal. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen. It was like a Melissa McCarthy sketch on SNL or something. It was insanity, and I loved it. It was just a really interesting episode. The dynamics are changing. I think things are going a little. Some of the things I saw were happening. And you know what? That big ass douchebag is out of the building. And so, we live to recap another week. I'll see you next week for Survivor episode 4, in which we see how getting rid of Matt and the re-scrambling, how that's affecting things, and how if the women can keep the momentum, and if anyone finds Bill's stash.